Pretty good. How are y'all doing?
Good, man.
Great.
Good.
Well, I mean, I say that it's been a bitch of a week though with this retrograde or whatever the hell it is.
Please do share, man. Tell us everything.
Oh, God, where should I start?
Yeah, that's what he told me in the email. He's like, we could, it would probably take 2 days, or 2 weeks, or whatever he said to me, to get this all out. But yeah, before we get into, like I said, we'll cover some other stuff, history and all that stuff. But well, I guess we could just jump right into your latest happenings, because you did have some things happening. So let's go ahead and we'll just jump right into that right now, because I definitely want to know what's going on. It's kind of concerning.
Well, I mean, yeah, a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's good news. There's good things happening, like my show, Dial In for Mason, just got syndicated with Tesla, Wolf Media, and Paranoia TV, so that's really good, and, yay, and all that. I'm excited about that, and it's going to be a really good, fruitful relationship, I can tell, because Ron Patton of Paranoia Magazine kind of brokered the deal, and he's a really good friend of mine and someone I really trust in the business, and so, yeah, I mean, that's one good thing that's happened this week, but, I mean, the bad stuff has just been through the roof. I mean, I've got a black eye at the moment because I was in Hollywood one night last week, and see, every time I go there, I have to take extreme precautions because there are eyes and cameras all over every square inch of Hollywood, and I am a person of interest when I am in there for obvious reasons. And so I left, and I was followed home, and I went to bed about an hour and a half after I went home, and someone broke into my apartment. Whoever did it professionally, because they picked a deadbolt plus a lock on a doorknob, and they came in and basically beat the hell out of me in my sleep in bed, and I didn't even know it was happening. I don't know if I was chloroformed or what. All I know is I woke up and I've got blood going down my face. I raced to the kitchen to wash it off, and all 4 of my gas burners on the stove are going full blast with a pot of oil on one of them, which is basically a ticking time bomb, and the front door was unlocked, and it's like, oh, God, and so, and people were like, why didn't you call the police? Well, and say what? The men in black were here? I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a situation like that, me being me, and the circumstances being what they are,
right, what is police going to do anyway?
I would get a
haven't
dog,
done anything.
Get a nice gun, a dog, and a security system or something, man.
Yeah, something's got to give with that. I don't know. I mean, I've dealt with the police, and matter of fact, it got elevated to an FBI investigation, and it's like they're all inept to investigate it or follow any kind of. I mean, I've given them all kinds of evidence, leads and everything, and it's like they just act like they don't exist or whatever. So I mean, to me, it's rather cumbersome and futile. So I've kind of given up on that.
Right. Yeah, the cops.
Do you think somebody has their thumb on them, if you will?
Yes, I do. I don't think it's the agents that were in charge of the case. I think it's somebody above them in the chain of command.
Sure.
Because the way that they described the situation as they were seeing it is that they kept hitting, quote, brick walls. So, and normally that doesn't happen in the FBI. So
somebody's telling him to leave this one alone.
Right.
Excuse me.
Unreal.
So, yeah, it's just so. And then we were planning. Me and a couple other radio hosts here in L.A. were planning this big, what we were calling a Hollywood Illuminati ball, kind of like an Eyes Wide Shut thing, to sort of do like a mocking event of it. And one of them has turned out to be sort of a disinfo shill who basically screwed the whole thing up and pissed off the studio that was giving us the space to throw it at on Santa Monica Boulevard. So that whole thing is off now. So that's another thing. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I had to hit my cough button. I've been talking all day, so.
I do that all the time.
Anyway, yeah, and then so now there's this little feud brewing between me and the douchebag that I'm not even going to name to give him an ounce of publicity, because he's turning the whole thing into like, you know, I'm some kind of Masonic disinformation artist or something like that. I mean, and it's so ridiculous, because it's like, to people who follow my work and look at the stuff that I've exposed and brought out, like the leaked audio and documents and this and that and the other, no Masonic shill would ever in a million years be allowed to do stuff like that. I mean, I've jerked their pants down so many times that, I mean, they hate me, so there's no denying that. I mean, I've been called this week people have called me everything from a Masonic disinformation specialist to an MK Ultra mind-controlled slave to just an all-around bastard. And I mean, it's like, and I'm demon-possessed and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, you know, I've had it with listening to this sort of stuff, and so I'm just ignoring it. And then I had another show host that was supposed to be coming on my show tomorrow, and then called me earlier and started insulting me and denigrating me like I'm just this amateur and he's so much more seasoned than me, and then expected me to still have him on my show. It's like, no, you're not going to sit there and insult me and then come on my show and me kiss your ass. I don't work that way. So, you know, maybe Alex Jones might do that, but I don't. So
interesting.
And then other weird stuff going on, like my estranged mother of 14 years is suddenly blowing up my phone with text messages saying that, you know, she wants to have a relationship and all this kind of stuff, but is still blaming me for all of the sick stuff that went down between us, you know, when I was still a teenager, and the reason why we don't have a relationship. And it's like, you know, what the hell is going on? Because when she's contacting me, nothing good comes of that. That's happened one time before, and it ended very badly. So I'm very leery of that. I mean, because she's completely programmed and, you know, a part of it, because I come from this bloodline stuff. So obviously she's plays a role in that as well. And I've done my best to try and refer her to the proper people that could possibly deprogram her and get to the bottom of whatever's going on with her mentally, but she refuses the help. And so it's like, you know, I'm sorry, we can't have a relationship. So
that's unfortunate.
It's true, though. I mean, and everything that you've said, because I think you've been on twice so far as I remember, and everything you've said, it's just spot on as far as the. So obviously you're not a shill, and I'd have to say the person who's claiming this stuff today is 100% a shill. The guy, I mean, if he's throwing off the this ball, which by the way it sounds like an awesome idea. Is there any way you can have it somewhere else, like in the area, or?
Well, no, because I mean, basically everything was falling from the sky for free because of mine and another friend's connections, and so we were going to put on this like tens of thousands of dollar event, you know, at no cost to us, and he went in and pissed off all the right people, and so they pulled the plug, and there's nothing. Even without him doing it, you know, it's like the punch bowl has the turd in it now, so it's too late. And so maybe next year, but I mean, and there will be other events and things like that, but unfortunately this one is off. And at the rate things were going, it seems like there's a rather large security threat to it because of the way he was behaving and some strange things that he was saying. And see, the other host and she and I had been down because I'm working on a pilot of a reality show called The Real Freemasons of Hollywood, and basically we go down and you know, film all of the Masonic stuff on Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard, because everybody's always like, oh, it's the Jews, it's the Jews. No, you take a walk down these streets and you realize that it's all Masonic, okay? Right. And so he started persuading her to stop doing that and to basically, get involved in a bunch of nothing and just silly, ridiculous disinformation type stuff. And so I see what's right in front of me, and I see what's going on. And the guy claims that he's former CIA. I'm not quite so sure that that's true or not. But if it is true, then you know what they say, you never leave the agency, and so that would make perfect sense why he's trying to derail this whole Freemason expose thing that's going on. But you know what? I mean, these people can try their. I mean, it's like I always say, hit me with your best shot, and all they can do is maybe cause some delays or things like that, but they're not stopping me or really slowing progress or anything like that. So it's going to continue, and ha ha ha.
So James, when did this attack happen? As far as in your home?
It was last Monday, not this past one, but the one before. That's when everything started getting bad.
So you think it's directly related to this ball that you were trying to set up?
Yeah, because the person in question was the last person whose company I was in. He dropped me. I'd ridden into Hollywood with him, and he dropped me off at my house. So he was the last person to see me and be able to, because I never inform, I garage my car, and I never inform anyone of my movements or schedule or anything. So it's always a mystery of where I'm going to be and when I'm going to be there and all of that. And it's just a security precaution that I've had to learn to take, unfortunately. And so he was the only person that knew that I was, at home and going to bed and all of that. So I think it is tied in, and I see what's going on, and that's why I've distanced myself from him and them and all of that. So and since doing so, it seems like things have gotten a little bit better, although I'm still sustaining the usual attacks online and stuff. But that goes with the patch, as I say. That's part of the business and doing what we do. So
well, it's really messed up, and I hope they're listening right now, because every last one of you guys are psychopaths and pieces of shit, and I hope you all rot in hell. That's what I gotta say.
Yeah, they are, and they're going down, because I've tuned into a couple of their radio broadcasts here in the past couple of days for a few minutes just to look, and it sounds awful. It sounds like a bunch of drunks on air arguing with people in a chat room, and so that that's not journalism.
No.
So
absolutely not. Dude, I hope you take some sort of precautions here. Because you probably got a lot of people worried.
Yeah, no, I'm just it's like something's always constantly stressing me out. It's like right now, for example, I've got to go in for routine doctor and dental procedure issues, and I don't have California insurance yet, so I'm still on my Arizona insurance. So I'm trying to raise the $200 for the gas money to drive to Phoenix and back, and so it's like, oh my God. It's constantly something. So if there's anyone out there who can graciously donate that, you can go to dialinformation.weebly.com, and there's a donate button on there, and I would be eternally grateful. So yeah, it's very difficult.
Help them out. It's worth it. It's a good cause in my opinion.
Yeah, that would make my month. Believe me, it's a constant struggle. It's like people. I've been accused. Masons have said you're doing this to get rich. It's like, are you serious? I eat off food stamps. Okay, get real.
Wow.
I should add, what I said just now a little bit ago. That's directed towards the people that are involved, in threatening James, not all Masons, and anybody who does similar things, because that's just sick, Because I'm certain there are a lot of good people out there who are Masons who aren't psychopaths.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. I've been doing this radio stuff now for 2 years, and I've been very crystal clear the entire time that most Masons in the world are perfectly great guys. It's just that they do not have any conception under God of what evil lurks up top of those
Right.
Grand Lodges and that Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite in particular.
Right.
I mean, these men are horrible people. Horrible. I used to work around them every day. I used to be administrative staff with a paycheck stub from the Supreme Council every week. I mean, come on. It's
You would
and
know.
then you know, and people want to the ones that try to do the disinformation. They're like, oh yeah, you prove it. You never did that. It's like, dude, go to ScottishRite.org and look in the archives and look at all my pictures. Look at my old contact information, my extension in the office. I mean, come on, it's all right there.
Now, do you think these people who sit there and try to downplay your work and claim that not all Masons, do you think they are given orders to do this, or are they just trying to kiss up and win some brownie points to try to impress their other Masonic friends?
I think it's a little bit of both,
Okay.
because no matter where you are in Masonry, even if you have a 33rd degree, okay, there's always another carrot that they dangle for you to chase. Because there's so many degrees. There's not just 33 degrees. There's more like 1,000 when you add them all up, and so there's always some other accolade or some other thing that they convince you that you want, and then you're trying to get it and impress your superiors, and that ego stuff comes into play, and you want this title, and you want this chair, and you want this power, and blah, 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 and that's where the whole thing always goes horribly wrong. And that's why, I mean, I would love to reform Freemasonry. That's a little side project of all the dozens of side projects I have going on. I have one called the Magdalene Rite, and that's what you would do. You would bring back the old concept of the Knights of the Round Table, and to hell with this stuff about having grandmasters and all that, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I mean, these Masons who don't want to believe it, I've got news for you. If you're a good guy, you're never ever going to make it to a position in your Grand Lodge or on the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite. Why? Because you don't have what it takes to get there. You don't have the evil and the backstabbing and everything else inside of you to accomplish that feat. Right.
Yeah, we had my aunt came on last week, and usually if someone says something like that, they're like, well, a family member can't be all that interesting. But she's read hundreds of books on this stuff, and she has some Mason friends and all that stuff, and has been for decades involved in a lot of cool stuff. And and she mentioned
very interesting guest.
Yeah, you definitely want to check out that interview. It's the only interview she's ever done on radio. And so anyway, she was talking about Sitchin's work and how the supposed, what was it called, the Order of the Snake at first, or the Secret Society of the Snake, something like that, and the battle between Enki and Enlil, and how at first, I forget which one is good and which one is bad, but one of them started the Secret Society with the intentions of actually helping humanity and getting it in there, and then the evil brother took over, killed the good guy or did something with him, and then corrupted the organization, and all these secret societies that we have today are actually descendants of that secret organization that started thousands of years ago.
That's true, and I'll throw you one better than that. It's like a pendulum. It goes back and forth in these fluctuations of good and evil. Like, for example, in the days of the historical Knights Templar, that was the good times, And then when they were disbanded and a conspiracy was devised by the Vatican and the King of France to get rid of them, which succeeded, they kind of turned into this new thing called Freemasonry, which was supposed to be like the babysitter, the protector, or whatever, and keep this information and material safe for a future date for it to come back out, except the people who have taken that over, lots of whom are remnants from the leftovers of the Bavarian Illuminati, have completely corrupted it, thrown out everything good into the garbage can, and are now turning it back into the very evil it used to fight. And I get so sick and tired of hearing the word Illuminati. When people start talking Illuminati, it's like, no, you'll hear your Mark Dices and Alex Joneses and I'm going to tell you, or Fritz Springmeier, the secrets of the Illuminati, and it's like, okay, first of all,
kind of like a mainstream term or something like that, right?
Well, right, yeah, it's become a Hollywood pop culture term, okay? Because the real order that still meets that would be what people think of that as is the Order of the Silver Star.
Right.
Which is a reference to Sirius, the dog star, all that. So that's your current modern-day Illuminati.
So I have a question for you. There's, first off, the whole reptilian connection, the Anunnaki, whatever. Let's say that's all true, and that has something to do with the bloodlines. Are there specific? Is it possible that some of these bloodlines are rebelling against the Illuminati and actually fighting for humanity?
Well, yeah, I would be one example of that. I mean, my God, over half of the Grand Masters of the historical Knights Templar are my direct great-grandfathers. So, I mean, this stuff runs deep for me. So, like with anything, you can have something good or bad come out of it. And what I came out of, my family back in Texas is extremely evil and extremely corrupt and has been that way for a long time. But, I came out of it and grew up to resent it. And that was years later. I mean, I went into the Masonic environment and was the poster child for the shit right there in Dallas. But I don't know. Enough was enough. I guess I took my capacity for ritual abuse and it made something pop or whatever, and it's just like the program just melted.
You got a conscience? What you're saying?
Yeah, no, I finally took a good look around me and went, oh my freaking God, what the hell am I involved in? And I had that revelation, and I fled the building in freaking terror and never looked back. And the moment I left, they started their harassment and gang stalking. Because, see, people have said, oh, you brought this on yourself because you wrote that book and you've come out publicly and whistleblown and blah, blah, blah. No, this has gone on since August 10th, 2010, when I left there. Wow. That's why I decided to come forward, because the way I saw it was the only thing I could do to protect myself at that point.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, this shit runs deep, real deep. And if you don't think for a second that they track these bloodlines and know everything, all about it and everything, oh, yeah. Yes, they do. It's all real.
They have to, yeah, I believe that, definitely.
The big conspiracy is that they don't want you, the person, to know if you are, because then if you are, then suddenly you're self-aware of what's going on with it all, and they don't like that.
Right.
So,
that's a threat to them, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So it's not like a lot of people sometimes they'll say like they're fearful of going on and doing their genealogy or whatever because, oh no, they'll start tracking me. Well, no, they're already doing that.
Right.
So,
oh yeah.
They know. Oh yeah.
This is about knowledge is power, and if you want to empower yourself, then you should go out and learn everything you can about yourself and any possible ties that you or your family have with this, and then you can possibly do something about it. So, I mean, I rail and rail and rail. Every single day of my life is spent doing events and shows and speeches and all this kind of stuff, and I mean, I'm making an impact, but I'm only one person. I can't fight an entire war for the planets, for God's sake. I'm not John Connor. So
it takes more than one person. I totally agree with that. It's going to take more than just you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Take a legion of us.
I commend you for what you do, though, man. You're a very brave person.
Speaking of, James, what should the average person do to help raise awareness and anything in particular?
Understandably, there's a lot of people who maybe because of their schedules or their family obligations or maybe they live in too remote of a location, they're simply unable to really say as much as someone who lives in central Los Angeles or something, But the best thing you can do is, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, get them onto good information, not the bad information. The bad information like Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier and all that kind of garbage. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Don't trust anything with the title Illuminati in it. It's disinformation.
You think the whole Illuminati thing, is how I look at it, is maybe something like they want to push people to that word Illuminati when, like you say, it's like the Order of the Silver Star, that kind of getting you away from that and pushing you towards this big bad Illuminati word and everything, and that's how I look at it.
Well, exactly. To understand what they're doing, you have to understand the fundamentals of sorcery, okay? Because that is the religion that they practice, the religion of the Golden Dawn. If you want to read their Bible, pick up see if you can find a free copy. I know they're floating around somewhere online. Google Complete Golden Dawn System of Magic PDF or whatever, and you can probably find one, because ordinarily it's like a $500 to $1,000 book. But yeah, that's their religion. That's their system of worship. And I mean, like with all these things, yeah, there's little bits and pieces of good stuff in there from history, but like, you know, Gnostic Christianity and that type stuff. But there's also a whole lot of evil in there, and you have to. It's always this labyrinth of confusion of trying to discern which is which and all of that. But the point is that what they are doing with what you're seeing in pop culture and what you're seeing with these rituals that music videos have turned into and all this kind of crap is they're basically initiating the entire world. It's all a giant ritual. It's all feeding this energy. So that is sorcery.
So I have a pretty, I think it's a good question. So what do you think, is there some sort of connection here to what's said in the Bible? Could this be like on a biblical level, like not just what you say good versus evil, but like are these beings, the Anunnaki, are they actually aliens, or are they demons, or are they, is there some sort of war that went on heaven? Do you actually believe Jehovah to be the creator, or is he just an alien? So that's a lot of questions right there.
Well, there's two camps to that argument. One side says that they came physically, from like extraterrestrial, conventional, somehow technological travel means and landed here. And then there's the other camp that says that they're from here, but just from like the fourth dimension or whatever. Now, my mentor personally believed that they were from here and from the fourth dimension, but I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that the stories are true, but the bottom line is even the tip of the top, cream of the crop, hardcore powers that be of this world do not have all the information, and they have no one to blame but themselves from burning libraries and everything else that they've done throughout history. So, we may never know what actually went on 6,000, 10,000 years ago with all of that, until some Dead Sea Scroll type thing is unearthed and we find out finally. So up until this point, we don't know, and I don't like to speculate on stuff like that. Yes, I think that there was an Anunnaki. There's certainly enough evidence of that. Where they came from, what they were involved in, were they good or bad, we don't have all of the facts and figures on that, unfortunately. Right. So I don't know.
Agreed. I wish there was a way to find out, but it's never going to happen, I don't think.
Well, my intuition on this tells me that, nothing good really tends to ever go on in secret. So let's use an example like UFOs, and there's an alien presence here on Earth, right? Like a lot of people believe, and I believe that too. If it's so secret, if they can't just land and come out and hey, we come in peace, blah blah blah, then what are they doing? Right.
Agreed.
If they're working clandestinely with the government, I mean, come on. And by the way, every other government in the world has admitted that they're here except ours.
Right. And that kind of is what I'm saying, though. Yeah, because there's definitely UFOs up there. What are they is the big question. Are they aliens? Are they fourth dimensional? Are they the fallen angels, etc., the demons, whatever? There's no way. I don't think any of us are going to know for sure. Because they can, if they are any of those things, they could just come. They could make themselves appear however they want to appear to us. So it could all just be a big scam.
Well, that's true. I mean, you could go back 500 years in the past with a cigarette lighter, and people would think it was magic, you know. So, I mean, yeah, you always have to be mindful of stuff like that and take what you see with a grain of salt. But are they angels or demons or aliens or whatever? I mean, I think the nature of the universe is life, so I'm sure there's, you know, intelligent life out there in the vast cosmos, most definitely. But as far as what's going on here with us right now, I think that there are some biblical overtones afoot, yes. But see, I shy away from these sort of prophecy and ecclesiastical discussions because they, well, to be blunt, they kind of freak me out, and it just, I think it leads to more paranoia than good information. So
no, you're spot on with that. And as far as prophecies go, I don't really take them much seriously, and I'm not impressed that a lot of them are being fulfilled, because those prophecies could have been written by people who just knew they were going to happen because they had the information. All this stuff could happen every so many thousands of years as far as destruction of the earth, because it's a pattern that they know, and they keep us out of the loop. They don't let us know what goes on. So
right. The only prophecy that I would even be willing to touch at this point right now would be like the Book of Daniel stuff and how we're in an age of revealing. That seems to be obvious.
Yeah,
but
that's good stuff. It's got to, like you said, nothing can be good if it's kept in secret, and hopefully everything's coming out into the light, and everything will be revealed. I hope so.
Yeah, that's the only hope we have as, you know, a civilization and a planet and everything else. So, I mean, we've got to really, you know, we're in a tough place. I mean, the baby boomers grew up in this whimsical world of the 40s and 50s and 60s and everything, but millennials, I mean, we're in this really weird position where we went from, you know, growing up with cartridge video games and VHS tapes all the way through the days of dial-up internet and gigantic computers, and now we've got the technology we have. So it's like we've made all these transitions and had to take in, it's like we're inundated with information every day, and so that, I think, is a setback when you're dealing with this type of topic matter, because it's just more inundation of more information, and it's like, how much can the human brain handle in a day?
Right. I wasn't exaggerating about that interview with my aunt. I'm gonna have to send you the link for that, because I mean, I know you know you have a lot of information you're already aware of, and I wouldn't waste your time. So I'm not.
No, please do, because I love to listen to stuff like that at night, and hell, maybe I can get her on my show.
Yeah, dude, I'm sure she would. I mean, she's got nothing to plug, but she still loves sharing information. She'll usually I'll hear her talking to her friends every night for like an hour at a time, just sharing all sorts of fun stuff, and so she was thrilled to come on and be able to actually be heard by, you know, a few thousand people. So that was really cool. So cool. I'm happy, you know, if she's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah, that would be someone to get on your show to talk about.
Oh yeah.
I think you would find what she has to say very interesting, James.
Yeah, I gotta find that link.
Yeah, and a lot of these people from these families and everything, because, I mean, if you come from a family with Masons in its history, oh, believe me, your bloodline. The two go hand in hand. They always have, they always will. So, and there's no explanation for it. It's one of those mysterious laws of attraction or whatever you want to call it. But, yeah, it's real, and it goes on, and like I said, knowledge is power. The best thing you can do is figure out your family history, your genealogy, and figure out, you know, if you're a targeted individual or not.
Mm.
And if you and the funny thing is that if you are a part of this bloodline, whatever, it seems like somehow, I can't explain how, but there are good forces spiritually out there too, just like there's the bad ones.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Right.
when you are of this bloodline stuff and you are doing the good and you are fighting the bad, it's almost like you're somehow enabled to do it.
Oh yeah, dude, I completely agree. And you know, it's nothing to really be proud of to be a part of those bloodlines, but you know, you'll hear on the show. I mean, definitely, you know, my mom's side of the family is definitely steeped in way deep in all that stuff, and I definitely know, I mean, for 100% certain that they are good. I mean, at least my family is, and definitely rebelling against the bad guys, I'm sure. But it's strange and unusual. What you just said is very true. It's like we're protected, and sometimes I think, is it like some form of controlled opposition, like? Because I have free will, I feel like I can say what I want, which is creepy because no one's telling me, okay, Jeff, you have permission to go say this and go say that. So why are we somehow protected, but we're not? Our information isn't controlled. What we're letting out, it's just very unusual to me and contradictory of reality. It seems like we would be the first ones to be targeted, if anything, and killed.
Well, you're right. And one of the biggest roadblocks that I have constantly run into and still run into is censorship. However, the information, just to spite them almost, still seems to get out there. So, you know, it may not make it onto Anderson Cooper 360, but then it gets on every single alt media site there is, and you know, it goes from there, and it takes on a life of its own. So, I mean, when I wrote that book, I thought that I would cause problems in the internal structure of Freemasonry and cause a sort of a shift to happen there. But what ended up happening was they completely ignored the book and did sort of a what do you call it, a gag order on it with their members. But then it took on a life of its own with the public, and then it turned me into like this celebrity overnight, and now everywhere I go, it's like, oh my God, James Wright and the Masons and blah, 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 you know, and I mean, it's great because I'm happy that I'm making people aware of this stuff and bringing it to the because it needs to be, because everybody's heads are so filled with crap right now from the music videos and the movies, and I mean, seriously. Next time you're watching a TV show or a movie or a music video or anything, a sporting event, anything, count the number of times you see all-seeing eyes, triangles, squares and compasses. I mean, it's everywhere now.
Show.
Oh, yeah.
I just remembered something awesome that my uncle told me or claimed, you know, about a month ago, but I think Chris wants to go to a break, so I'm gonna hold it off until then. It has to do with what we were just talking about, but really interesting stuff. The perspective as to why we would be allowed to actually come out with information that battles the bad guys, you know, and why we would be safe from it. So it's very interesting stuff. We definitely have to talk about more on that, because it's something I know you're conflicted with, James, because I mean we all have to be conflicted. I mean, how come we're allowed to talk, you know, oppose the bad energies out there and no one else is? That doesn't make any sense. So
well, I've had people put it to me under the table, you know, in a hush-hush sort of way from the intelligence community that have heard my work and everything, and they've sort of told me, you know, unofficially, don't repeat this, but there's a little term that goes around those communities that they use, and they call it the Can't Be Killed Club. And what they're referring to is it's, again, to do with these bloodlines and everything else, and evidently they have learned over the years that when you go and just off someone that's doing this, there are really, really bad repercussions that happen afterward.
I believe that.
And it scares them.
Yeah, I believe that entirely. All right, well, we'll take a quick break and get right back into it, because I like where this is headed. This is really cool. All right.
So we will be back, everybody. Hold on.
To think something so small could control you.
And everything you do.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
The RFID chip is always with you, threatening your privacy, causing severe risk to your health and personal safety, and killing you if you do not obey rogue government demands.
Because I want to increase my risk of cancer.
Because I want to live in a cash-free society.
Because now the government is looking out for us.
Because I have the mark of the beast, but it doesn't have me.
Ask your doctor how to get your chip implanted today.
Because we want to track your every move.
Bye, see ya.
Swivel. Because who else is going to track you? Damn it. Okay. Swivel. Because we want to track your every move. That was really good.
GMOs? GM knows.
Joe Fontana was just an ordinary activist until one day...
Oh, what do you know? $50. Must be my lucky day.
He cheated fate. Every family has its secrets. And what he doesn't know about his past might just get him assassinated.
Yeah? Dad, I think somebody's trying to kill me. God damn it.
Welcome back to Into the Black Hole. I am Chris Perkins, your host, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, Jeff Giles and Mark Cummins, and our guest, James Robert Wright. So let's continue where we left off, guys.
Okay, well, it's going to be hard for me to word this because I have not said anything to anybody yet, and I really haven't put much thought to it, but I was told that the powers that be, they like to, when they release good information out there to the public, they like to have certain bloodlines do it. And what he was speculating at, what he was getting at, was because it has something to do with some sort of like, I want to say reincarnation thing, some sort of like these people, these bloodlines are involved throughout history in significant areas, and they want it's like our responsibility to fix things. And I remember my aunt mentioning that we are given so many symbols. We are given hints as to what all the bad stuff that's going to happen on the planet. So we have the chance to fix it, in a sense, and it's some sort of like karmic law, like a contract, as in if we don't fix it, then we are allowed to go through hell if we don't consciously make the decision to make things better. And so that's the take that I got from it. Have you any better way to word it, James? Are you familiar with
I think that's well put, and I mean I kind of look at it like this, and I've heard others say this as well. After the destruction of World War II, I believe a call of sorts went out into the universe, and a bunch of us who've probably been here and done that many centuries ago have come back. And we're now, directly involved again. So, I mean, this is why they don't scare me. I've gone toe-to-toe, head-to-head with the most powerful men in fucking Masonry, and they don't frighten me. They would love to, but they don't. So, I mean, nothing does. I mean, yeah, and I have my worries and my stresses and those type things, but... that aside, I mean, I would, fearlessly run at them with, guns blazing, metaphorically speaking. So, yeah, I mean, something's got to give. Something has to change now, or this planet is fucked.
Yeah. Mhm. And like, if we don't do something, then it's kind of like our fault in a sense. Where I'm going to agree with that, to where like we kind of deserve it if we're not going to do anything.
Well. See, here's the problem, is you can't ultimately blame people at large, because look at how drugged they are. Look at how dumbed down and horribly educated, and the disinformation that they're given, daily doses of, and all of that. I mean, I was at the grocery store earlier, and I was just amazed that there was a kid checking out in front of me. He looked somewhere between the age of maybe 20 and 24, I don't know, and he could not figure out how to use the freaking card, debit card swipe machine. I could not figure it out, and it's like, dude, you're a kid. I mean, you should know little technological devices like that. What the hell's wrong with this picture? It's just, but it goes to show that people are asleep, and it's not all their fault.
Well, could it be, James, that all the people who are asleep aren't really being looked at in a sense as it's their responsibility, but it's the people who are awake who are responsible? So maybe it's the people who are awake who are supposed to do it, who are supposed to change things, and if we don't change things, then maybe that's the case, and then we...
That's a good theory you're postulating there. I mean, after all, look at the Crusades, for example. I mean, all the Templars and everybody that fought in that obviously was not a planetary, all-of-the-population thing. So, yeah, I mean, it may come down to just that. It may come down to it rests on our shoulders and what side of this, the good or the bad, is going to win. So, I mean...
I hope that's not the case. I mean, if it's failing, and if that has something to do with bloodlines or something, then that just scares the hell out of me. Because, I personally don't want that responsibility. I mean, I can't see you wanting it. No one wants it. That's
I've come to have a little bit of a jaded attitude about this type of thing, because the way I look at it is like, okay, I get the sense that, yeah, I incarnated here and I obviously have a role to fulfill, and that's all well and good, but you know what? I could certainly use a little bit more cosmic, godly, whatever you want to call it, assistance from above, because I'm getting a little sick and tired of struggling, and as far as I'm concerned, it constitutes a breach of contract,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, it gets so difficult at times that it could be made so much easier to do this.
Right.
I mean, just with $1 million, I could deal them so much damage just by buying advertising time or setting up a real cable channel that they can't do anything about, or just, there's 1,000 things you could do with that type of money and resource in a positive manner. And, I mean, there's people out there who they do good things with their money, like I would say Roseanne Barr is a good example, and Charlie Sheen is a kind of a good example, and Woody Harrelson is a good example, and Randy Quaid is a good example, but other than that, I mean, what have we got? It's like everybody that's fighting this fight, that's how they keep us down, is they keep us broke, they keep us destitute.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm pleading with anyone listening, and it's like, I'm begging you, if you've got $200 to spare, I need it for medical reasons to get to my damn doctor in Phoenix and back. Mm-hmm. It's down to that, and it's oh my God. I mean, it's always something, and I'm sure in another month it'll be some other crazy, unforeseen little expense or something like that or whatever, So hopefully there's some kind soul out there that might, oblige. Again, my website is dialmformason.weebly.com. There's a little donate button on there. You can send it to me. It's all instant and through PayPal and all that, but yeah, I mean, it's like see, if I didn't have to deal with it, it's every time I have to stop and deal with something like this, it's less time that I'm dealing with what I need to be dealing with. And then that's what they like to see happen. That's, like with this Illuminati ball thing that we were going to do in Hollywood. They love that this is all screwed up now, because that was going to draw so much attention to them right smack dab in the middle of Santa Monica Boulevard in the 90029 zip code of Hollywood.
that the mainstream media would have been forced to cover the event.
Dude, honestly, I'm surprised they got in the way. I'm surprised that I would think that they would actually want the attention. It seems that they want us to know this sort of stuff anymore. Like you said earlier, it's just all over all their videos, music videos, on the, all their award ceremonies, Super Bowl.
But they want everybody to think it's the Illuminati, and that's
right.
Just a bunch of bullshit nomenclature. I mean, okay, for example, the Jimmy Kimmel Show is in the Freemasonic temple built in 1921. So every time you walk in, a studio audience is walking into the Jimmy Kimmel Show, they're being programmed and inundated with join the Freemasons freaking imagery. And so ask yourselves this, is Jimmy Kimmel a Freemason? Well, you damn sure better believe he is, because why would they put him in their precious building?
Obviously, yeah.
So,
of course he is.
And that's what they don't want people to know, is it's Masonic. So when people want to sit there and go, oh, the Jews run Hollywood, blah, 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 you could say the same thing about groups of Christians or Muslims or whatever, but the point is that the people who are really running Hollywood are these 33rd degree Mason, Golden Dawn sorcerers. Those are your controllers.
Right. And you mentioned that it's a shame people aren't just spending $1 million to actually do something that would work. And you mentioned a bunch of celebrities, but there are way more people out there who are rich. I mean, compared to celebrities. I mean, most rich people aren't celebrities. And I had a question once before to a lady on a show I did back in the day as to why isn't someone actually doing that, spending their money to make an effective attempt to make things better. And she said, well, if you're wealthy and you try to do something like that, they can actually cut all your money off and stop you. And
they not necessarily. They can't exactly do that. But like in my case, for example, okay, I grew up in a family where I had access to bank accounts with multi millions and millions of dollars in them, like at least 50 million, and that's the kind of life I led and the way I grew up. And I had that well into my late 20s, but it was just access. And when I turned on the Masons and came out against them, guess what? My Masonic freaking family cut off all that access. So, I went from living in a mansion and driving a Jaguar to living in a roach-infested apartment in the ghetto in L.A., driving a 13-year-old car. So, that's how they get people like me.
Well, at least you had a taste of it, so you won't miss it this way. I mean, it's like it's overrated and everything. It's not the answer to life. Living like that. Well,
it is overrated, yeah. And I see people, they're so hung up on materialism and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to have a nice house and a decent car that's reliable and all of that, but aside from that, it's like I've become like a Trojan. All my possessions I can have packed and ready to evacuate in 30 minutes. So I just don't feel the need to have stuff anymore, and bric-a-brac and all this crap. I mean, it's just because it can all be taken away in a moment, or it can be destroyed in a disaster or whatever. So it's like, why would you sit there and obsess over a doll collection or a china plate collection that could go down in an earthquake? I mean, come on. There's more to life than hoarding stuff.
Right. You can't take that with you.
Wow. I don't know. I just want to forget about everything. It's too much. It really is.
It gets overwhelming at times. It can.
That's what Boardwalk Empire is for. So I can forget about this world. Crazy.
Yeah, this stuff. If you want to compare it to an HBO series, I would say more like Rome. I mean, because that's what it goes back to, the Julio-Claudian bloodlines. That's what we're dealing with. That's what I am. That's what anybody else of the Merovingian is a modern word. Okay, right. Talk more like Julii. That's where this stuff is coming from. Okay, Joseph of Arimathea, Jesus' uncle, was a wealthy, like, Donald Trump landowner. Do you realize, okay, that whole Scotland thing, the independence and all that, Scotland has the world's largest oil reserve ever that's completely untapped because Buckingham Palace is keeping it all sealed up, and it's called Clare Field, as in St. Clair. So, yeah, See, so here we go. And why did they not get to have their independence, and why was the vote rigged and everything else seedy that went on? Because Queen Elizabeth is over there, not wanting to let go of the fake power that she had. And there was one person who almost brought her down, and that was Diana, and you see what they did to her.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't like Diana very much.
No, she was having a house built in Malibu, and she was going to take her boys and move to America and set up camp or court or whatever you want to call it there, and that was going to be the end of that monarchy. And they knew it, they saw it coming, and they had to act quickly and remove her from the situation. And, again, talking about this protection, the car crash killed everybody in the car but her. She came out almost unscathed, so then they bled her dry in an ambulance. I mean, it's sick.
True story.
That would be why.
Under the 13th pillar.
In an old sacrificial ground that they used to sacrifice bloodline people in, called the Pont d'Alma Tunnel, which is French for Passage of the Moon Goddess. Who is the Moon Goddess? Diana. I mean, hello. Could this be more obvious?
Right.
So, it's... Ugh.
So, the Moon Goddess is
symbolism.
Diana. Isn't Allah the Moon God?
I'm a little ignorant when it comes to Islam, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Jeff, we had to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. No. I mean, is it? I should have reworded that. It's speculated.
Because it has something to do with their lunar calendar, and they have the crescent moon on their lunar calendar. So somehow they got turned into Allah being the moon god. But Muslims actually take offense when people say that because it's not true.
Of course they do. This is the counterclaim. So there's two sides to every story, and you just heard both sides, I guess. One of 200. What is it? 150 or 250 pagan gods supposedly. That's both sides to the story. So me and Chris are we don't agree on that topic. So we just it's probably better not to talk about it.
Yeah. Oh no, the symbology runs so deep. Like even the damn car that she was in a Mercedes. What's the hood ornament? A silver star. I mean, come on.
Right.
It's just this goes on and on and on and. She's buried in a mausoleum on an island in a tree grove with black swans, circling it. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
The symbolism is so blatant.
Oh, yeah. Supposedly, I heard something those swans have to do, like they want to trap her soul or something, or some sort of weird
Well, they may want to do that or think they can, but I don't personally believe that they're capable of doing it. See, when you're dealing with these high-level sorcerers, that's the problem. Their egos get so out of control that I always call it like kids playing with their dad's gun. They have no idea what they're doing. And, I mean, with all the threats I've had on me, those have been some of them, magic attack. We'll get you with a magic attack or whatever. It's like, please try it. Whatever. I have had nothing ooga booga bad demon whatever happened to me, so obviously their finest attempts have been all for naught.
There's definitely something to it. They definitely make attempts, at the very least, to scare you. I mean, and it might work for a few seconds, but then if that happens, I just know that nothing can. It's just thinking. I don't want to say just thinking positive, but that just to know that you're protected and that nothing has the right to spiritually harm you. It seems to shut them up right away.
Right. The only way that they've successfully, I would say, scared me in the last year was living in Hollywood, because like I said, there's eyes all over Hollywood, and there's absolutely zero way to conceal your whereabouts or your movements. So a lot of crazy shit went down, and they knew where I was every single second, and I was running into very dangerous types every single hour, and it finally became so overwhelming that it's like, I can't do this anymore. It's driving me crazy. So I had to get out of there, and I don't live. Well, I moved to Phoenix for a time, but I came back because these are the front lines here, and it's where I can reach the most people and do the most damage. But I'm damn sure not living in Hollywood. So
it would be it's creepy and intimidating just being around a bunch of psychopaths.
It must have been scary, your incident in Hollywood recently when you woke up and don't remember being beaten up. Things like that it must be tiring.
Man.
Well, there's always a big clue because, see, when I go into Hollywood, I try to take my own trusted security with me, and there's always a big clue that something is going to possibly happen when the security element is removed. They will do something to cause whoever the person is that's doing your security or whatever to have a personal problem or a situation or a car not start or whatever, and so they can't be there at the crucial moment. They need them to not be there to be able to get to you and do something, and that's exactly what happened that night. So, once again, I should have seen the handwriting on the wall, but I went to the meeting I went to anyway, and I probably should have not gone. So that's my mistake, but still here.
Wow.
I mean, that's just terrifying, though. I mean,
yeah, it's just gonna get old. It's gonna be, you say you're not afraid of it, but in good for you. But it's gonna just get, like I say, tiring, get so old.
Well, like I said, the struggle of it gets tiring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being destitute, being broke, I mean, it is taxing,
Right.
Not knowing where your next tank of gas is going to come from, not knowing, counting the days till you've got to go re-up your food stamps. I mean, just that kind of stuff, and having to budget that out. I mean, yeah, it's not easy, and it could be made a lot easier. That's why I say, my attitude has become a little jaded with the people upstairs, because it's like, come on, cut me a freaking break here.